All right, fellas, so I got this nice Craftsman Briggs overhead valve, and yours may be a little bit different, right? Depends on what year. The overhead valve is like between 6 and 8 horsepower, roughly, snowblower. These are nice machines. They're getting older. This is a newer design, but it's been around for, I don't know, if I could just guess, maybe 10 years. So you might have an older one, right? And one of the problems with these machines is twofold. First of all, you're using them in snow. Depending on where you are, there could be salt, there could be sand. Now this one it was just loaded with sand. So we're going to clean it up. And what we want to do with this one, I want to show you guys, is that the engines are very vulnerable to water infiltration. And this is yet another one in a series where, in this video, we're going to focus in on kind of cleaning up this machine and taking all the plastics and everything off the engine, and so we can sweeten this engine up. Because then you're going to see it's going to puke. It's going to puke rusty water. And that's the death of any machine, really. When the engine starts doing that, we'll talk a little bit about why later on, but that's what we're going to go through, and I just want to kind of inspire you guys to maybe get out there and clean up your machine. And if your machine isn't starting and you think that there might be a lot of sand and dirt, maybe salt, she's starting to rust, it's time to get out there and do something to it before you lose it. You won't be able to repair it. In this case, I caught the engine in time, and this is a very, very common problem with the overhead valve Briggs engines of this era. And again, yours might be a little bit different. The plastics might be a little bit different. The tins may be a little bit different. The switch locations, maybe it'll be have an idle or something. Anyway, let's go through this. I'm just going to show you real quick. We'll take all those pieces off, get everything cleaned up, and I'll show you what I do to kind of go through them, make sure they're okay, get them cleaned up, get them tuned up, get all the water and junk out, get some lubricant into all these different places, get the ignition system inspected and tweaked, and the starter motor freshened up, because that'll go bad on you too. So there's all these different things that you can kind of go through to ensure that your machine is going to be ready for the winter, or ready to put away for the next season, because right now we're coming in towards the end of the season. And whether or not you own the machine and you've neglected it, and you've been putting it into some serious use for a long time, or maybe you just picked one up on a marketplace or something for cheap and you want to go over it. So let's get to the video, and then a little bit later on we'll talk about why this happens. And as customary, we're going to start off with a super clean rinse, but I put some in here with some other detergent, so I think that'll be good. Okay, and we'll hose it on this guy. So this is what's up next, fellas, right? It's not bad. Okay, there's just some filth in there. All right, I could take the whole motor apart today because I have the others to clean. It's beautiful out today. It's hot, but the clouds, the overcast is coming. Let me see if I can get a peek in there. It's not bad. She needs maintenance. Maintenance? Yeah, she's gonna need some maintenance. All right, let's get started. All right, once again, new year out in the yard in January on a beautiful, balmy day actually, and we're back with this machine still working, still going good. So I told you guys I'd give you guys, the update and reports. So the Tiander washer, it's the Mr. Leance, or the pressure lance from Tiander. So I'm going to keep you guys posted on it. Let's get to work. All right, all that sand is off. A little bit of paint came off, which I like, because we're going to touch it up. She looks good. All right, she's clean. Still some junk laying on it, but that's all right. Maybe I'll give it a quick hit, because I still see this junk coming down. Super clean. Get yours now. Available at local stores. All right, just pull the choke tube up. That goes there. And then there's 2 screws. These are like wing style nuts. Only one was here, right? One fell out. This is just a ground strap. We'll try and pull that off, or we'll get to the wire down there. That electrical stuff needs to be cleaned up. She looks pretty gacky. Let me keep going. We got some screws up here. Here's a plastic cover that's probably going to need to come off, along with this steel cover from what I remember of these motors. The tank bolts are here. We don't want to take that off. There's more screws. See them hiding over here? I don't want to. One here, one there. Got the bolts over here for the tank. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Let me just show you that view. Maybe we'll take those off too. So I'm just going to go around and just undress it. Okay, so we got a bolt there. I did the 2 bolts here in the front, and there's a little plastic piece that just kind of comes off, pops off. Now we'll just disconnect. All right, that switch. Put a little bit of lubricant on it. It'll, you know, on things, because it helps them to come off. Right, they're stuck and gravelly. We got to clean all of that, and then we can get to the bolts here and the bolts there. Okay, and I got the other stuff off as well. Let me show you. See? So we got this guy, and then this will get later, but it's just these bolts down here. Hopefully they'll come out. Get that in a minute. And then we'll get the carburetor off. I already took the hose off for the fuel line, see? And then you see how that's set up there? I want to get a lubricant on that too. Well, that's moving. That's good. We know the choke moves. Okay. That's good. All right, let me keep going. Oh, we got to get the plug out too. All right, it's getting there. Okay, now, a little plastic cover with a little bolt there. And then I put a little lube on this. Now we got to get these guys out. And then that'll allow us to pull the starter motor off. And we're getting closer to the pull start cover. Bolt down there, that might break. Get some lube on that. They do. I've been blowing at it a little bit. I wish I could have washed this, but you know, that wasn't to be. Let's see where else I can keep going. All right, we're almost there. We're getting, I keep saying that, but we're getting there. All right, it's 3 bolts that hold the cover on. One's down here, one's up here, and the other one I showed you. I'm going to need to take this off at least. Okay, this guy, because it's in the way. And we got to take the carburetor off, because you can't get the cover off with the carburetor on. Yep. Which we got to do anyway, right? That's why I say. All right, let me keep busting at it. We'll get to this in a bit. Let me just kind of blow and clean this off a little. I left the plug in for now until I'm done kind of wiping and scrubbing a little bit. See, there's still some rope stuck in everything. See, but we can get to everything. And let me just kind of vacuum it off, brush it down a little bit, wipe it down. I'll use a little solvent. Here's the weird thing too, right? If you want to adjust the governor, you have to do it with the tank off. That's what this is. This pulls on the spring. There's also adjustments here. Hopefully it's good, but I have an idea on how we could run the motor without the tank. The way I usually do with a tube of gas. We can check things out there. All right. Also, I'll start rinsing this stuff off. We'll get it cleaned up. It's pretty nasty. Put it to the side, and then I'm going to set up and take a look at the carburetor. All right. Hopefully it's okay. It doesn't look bad. I see some old gas laying around it. It's a nice, it's like a little older one too, which I like. All right, let's see. Hopefully this doesn't leak. I think this moved a little bit. But we'll find out. All right, so we're in on the coil. Got the coil out. I got a video on doing this on the bench, so I'm not going to go through it here. And I got the plug out too. Where do you see the plug? Just spin this thing over about there. We'll clean that magnet up. Bring it back in a minute. And we want to clean these standoffs, and then I'll gap it to 10,000ths. Oh, sorry. We got to clean this guy too. We'll bring that over. Let me show you the plug. This thing was running real good. Probably doesn't even need half of this, but you know what? We're going through it. Look at that. That is outstanding. All right. Let me get started. All right, you can see I've got everything cleaned up nice. I got my 10,000ths in there. All I got to do now is loosen it up. Let the coil slap into the magnet. Let's straddle in the magnet. And tighten it up. Pull my tool back. And I can rearrange everything in here. So kind of it has to slip underneath this along with this coil wire. We got to put that back and that spacer. Well, then we'll be able to put the cover on, right? So the cover's dry, and yeah, I'll get that on in a minute. Before I put the cover on, though, I like to spray all of this with chain wax, the magnet, and the gear, and we'll put a little bit of lubricant on that gear as well. A little bit of chain wax and a little bit of white grease. We'll spray on. I wanted to go do a spark test, but there's puking water out all over in the combustion chamber. I put a little bit of my tranny fluid mix in, but no, there's too much water in here. We got to spin it over. All right, see it all? Look at that all. So let me get, here, we got this rag, because it's rusty water. So hopefully we can wake up these rings. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of put this rag here, puke it up, let it groove. Oh yeah, there's a lot there. It's got spark, so let me take this plug off. See it all? I want to spin that and then get some of my tranny fluid juice in there and spin it again. See it all? Oh, you can see it coming out. I don't want to get a shock. Let me put this back in. Yeah, we got to spin that up for a bit. She feels okay. All right, let me wipe up, and then I'm going to repeat that process with the tranny fluid in there, tranny gasoline mix right in there. Kind of go a little slower, stir it around, do its thing. So what I'm going to do now is just try to blow in there with this guy. It's the water. If you leave this out in the rain with this type of an exhaust system, it's going in the motor. Gravity. Whoops, there goes gravity. She's still got crust on her. There's still sand coming out. That's how much there was. Yeah, that's better. I don't think you really want to take it off. So I'm going to put the tranny fluid stuff in. All right, can you still see it? Tranny fluid goes in now. We'll spin it slow. Yeah, a decent amount. You always mix up more. Now just go slow, and then I'll bring up the speed as we go. Just to stir it around. We know we got spark. There it goes, starting to come out. See the smoke? That's encouraging. Alright, I think we'll leave it like that. We put it back down, and we'll put the cover on next. Alright, you can see I put a little bit of chain wax on, also on the magnet, and then just white lithium on the gear. A little chain wax and white lithium. Now we can close it up. Alright, that made me think, but I haven't seen the same issue. I did pull this one over. Notice how this has this cap on the front, and I think that deflects a lot of the rain. But until I can get a chance to cover it, I just pull it, you know, off the line, right, and put it over on this line. I'm going to lean it up against that machine there. Makes me concerned about that muffler too. But yeah, we got to cover this stuff. It's been raining hard. All right, let me do that now, and I'll be back. I got to get back to work, and then I'll have to cover these. All right, this I cleaned off. I greased it, but the only thing you can put on a snowblower is you pull the Bendix back, which I can't do with one hand, but you pull it back and you put oil. Okay, that's it. Make sure it's well oiled, and there's nothing else you can do because anything else will stick. You can put grease on the gear here, but not inside the Bendix area. It seems okay. We need to test it, so let me just mount it. All right, let's give it a test. Oh yeah, sort of flinging the oil. Yeah, it's good, and it puked a little bit out the top there. All right, that's all set, okay? All right, I gotta keep going. All right, I found a little bit of water in here. All right, doesn't look too bad. I'm sure there's some in the oil. I'm gonna just kind of blow this out, and I'll check it, and I'll lubricate it well. I'll adjust it. Again, you wanna check out my other video. I do a nice close-up on all of these, this exact motor, and show you guys how to do the valve lash and everything. All right, let me get to work on this. All right, fellas, I got a little bit of fuel in here. All right, in the carbureted tube. I'm using 2 smoke. And looks like it's full. We want to check the RPM. Let me get my RPM gauge. My tachometer. She's gonna smoke and she's gonna puke. So I got the camera to the side. I know the air compressor's on, but it's not gonna matter. You're not gonna hear anything in a minute. Let's just fart it up. Let's put a little bit of this in there. I don't know what it's gonna do. We don't know what RPMs it's gonna do. We have no idea. So if it freaks out, I'm running out of here. I'll see you guys later. Right? Let's see. I can't shut it off, so if anything goes wrong, if it goes taken off, it is what it is. Ran good. See how she started to clean up? That's good. All right, let me go get the mop and the rag because it just puked all over the floor. I told you that was going to happen. Yeah, it puked all over the place. So let me go get that, clean up, and I'll be back. And then we got to put the rest of it together. I'm going to clean up in here. Let it cool off. I'll probably put a little bit of paint on this. RPM's about 3480 or whatever. That's fine. It's only 1 speed. That's all this thing is. So we'll be back. All right, I just cleaned up the muffler a little bit. This we got to hit with a wire wheel because there's actually a strap that goes on that for ground. That's all rusty, so we're going to clean that up. And I just threw a little bit in there too because that's always a problem. It always seems to rust. Water gets stuck in it. If you want, throw a little clear coat or something on that or a little rust reformer. We got to put all this back. This is where, that's the number, okay, that's the number of the motor. So if you're looking for parts on this model, it's often on the side here. So that's how you know what that is. And everything else looks pretty good. I think this is on correctly. I'm going to put all the, let me clean out the tank. Just want to rinse it and real quick. And then I'm going to put all this back together. And then we got to get to the transmission. All right. So that's another episode there, most likely. But I don't know how much I'm going to put into one video. So if you have one of these, clean off this tab. I just cleaned it off because we're going to put on this cover. I'll show you this switch cover, right? And it's got one of these on it, which grips that substrate here. And then the other end goes to the switch. Now, on this model, there's actually 2 switches. It goes to the switch up in here. Now, there will be other videos in this folder. There's also a folder on, snowblowers. But this is a common engine. It's on a lot of things. In fact, I have one outside, and I just showed you. It's on a rototiller. Notice there's a little cap on that over the exhaust. And I think this is where the issue is. These things are being left outside, and the water's getting in. Especially here, I can speak to here in New York on Long Island. Rains a lot. We could have rain and then it will snow, might even have a big snowstorm, and you might be using the machine and then like a few days later, it'll rain. And you might be thinking, well, it's getting towards the end of the year. I just used it. I didn't get a chance to put it away. I left it outside and then it rains. And all that water is going to go right into that engine. And I talk about this on some of the other videos too. I have another video on this with Frontier, same engine. You might want to check that one out. I'll put some links in the description. And I'll get into the explanation a little bit more on what's happening. But it's going into the engine. It's getting into the muffler. The muffler comes down, has that big gooseneck. It's going to, if the valve is shut, it's going to fill up, that whole port and tube and everything up to the point where the muffler can't hold anymore and might spill out. But that's a lot. you go to pull it over, all that water is going to go right down. That whole column of water is going to go right down in your engine. And on the Frontier, the green one that I just did, that hydrolocked. It just locked right up. But most people would think it was seized, but it's waterlocked. Either way, right, getting it to, if the piston is all the way down, it might fill up the entire cavity, right, that whole volume that it could just fill right up. I have another motor on the shelf that I did, and that was like last year, whatever. I made one motor from two, because one of them, I guess the piston was down and it had sat with all that water in there for long enough to just actually seized it with rot. So this will happen to you. So don't let this happen to you. Okay, get out there and fix up your engines and fix up your machines and take care of them. On this particular machine, I would recommend covering it or just making sure that you get it into a shelter of some kind. And if you think you left it out and you think it rained, then you need to start it and get it moving. Take the plug out, put some kind of lubricant in there, spin everything over, and maybe use the electric start, do it with the plug out. If you're pulling it and it's starting to lock up, get the plug out. If it needs more of a service, like I just went through, then do that. But then, get it running and then put it away. And of course, there's a lot of videos out there. I even have them too, is on, setting up your machine for storage. But I think that's it for this one. Check out some of my other videos. Also, there'll be other videos on this machine. We're going to go through the transmission. And we're also going to do a little bit of a paint job, right? Just a touch up, right? Just to clean things up, make it nice. And yeah, you can refurbish your machine and make it like new again and keep it running really good. And if you keep it like that, it'll last you probably longer than you'll want it, right? I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping in Archer's Garage. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. We're going to try to build this channel together, fellas. And that's essentially how we get paid, right, from you guys doing that. And it push us up a little bit further into the algorithm and get a little bit more exposure. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.